Rabbi YY Rubinstein, standing in for Rabbi Chapnik and making this video for this week's Parsha, which is Ekev from Yerushalayim. And those of you who've seen me before will notice I am no longer wearing a jacket because we're in a heat wave and it's very hot here. However, that's nothing to do with the Parsha, as far as I know. So let's look at the Parsha. We've only time for a little bit because we only have 6 minutes. So here we go. It says, V'hoyo Ekev tishvon el mishpatim. Now I'm going to translate this with the Art Scroll translation, although we'll probably be arguing with that. This shall be the reward when you hearken to all these laws, and you'll observe and perform them. And Hashem your God will safeguard for you the covenant and the kindness that he swore to your forefathers. He will love you and bless you and multiply you and all sorts of good stuff. That's what the Pasuk says. But all the commentators are struggling with this beginning, V'hoyo and Ekev. So as I said, they translate it, that's Art Scroll translates it as, this shall be the reward. So letting Art Scroll speak for itself, it says that's the translation that follows Unkelis' translation, and Reb Sadia Gaon, Ibn Ezra, and the Ramban. Rashi also says that Ekev is the same word as heel, the heel of your foot. That's of course the source of the name of Yaakov. And so basically they're in solid ground saying that. To cut to the chase, my favourite commentator, the Alshich, says it's a problem. The word v'hoyo means and it will be. That's a certainty. It will be. That's a definite outcome. But there's no definite outcome here because it's a matter of our choice. And anyway, if you translate it as meaning and there will be a reward, that goes against what it says in the 4th chapter of Pirkei Avot, in the 2nd Mishnah, that the reward for a mitzvah in this world doesn't exist. The only reward is that schar mitzvah, the reward you get for a mitzvah is another mitzvah. So how can you say that it's something that will happen? Not necessarily. Schar mitzvah, but you don't think that your efforts as a religious Jew in keeping Torah is unrewarded or unrewardable. There is an element of reward. But the reward is another mitzvah. Now what does that mean? So I have to tell you that you probably know that in the world of Kir V'chokim, which I inhabited for about 30 or 40 years of my life, the most effective tool in allowing a young man or a woman to discover or want to discover their Judaism is not a brilliant philosophical mind, not showing them the Talmud. It's a Friday night invitation. A Friday night invitation, the Shabbos table, the twinkling candles, the beautiful food, and the interactions of the family, speaking to your children. What have you learned in yeshiva today? What's this week's Parsha? Did you hear a Devar Torah? Being interested in them. That's usually which sparks interest of somebody in being Jewish. So there was a famous multi-billionaire called Paul Reichman. He lived in Toronto, and maybe you're familiar with him, a tremendous philanthropist, and he supported the yeshiva of Ponevezh. The Rosh Yeshiva of Ponevezh was somebody called Rav Shach, and he once asked him the following intriguing question: who gets the greater reward in heaven for their activities in Torah? I, who support the yeshiva, or you, who do all the learning and teaching? And Rav Shach said a very intriguing answer. He said, I don't know. I don't know who'll get the greater reward in heaven, but I certainly know who gets the greater reward down here. Me. Because I study Torah. And I get the joy and pleasure of that to a degree, which of course Mr. Reichman doing multi-billion-dollar deals didn't quite do. The living of the Torah is its own reward. Schar mitzvah. And there's a famous story that I heard about a time in the 19th century when the flow was entirely away from Judaism, that there was somebody who came to tell the Briskerov that a boy from a well-known religious family had, like so many others, abandoned the observance of mitzvahs and given the whole thing up. And the person was seeking for advice, maybe strategies that the parents could use from the brilliant Briskerov. And he turned around and he said, I can understand them wanting to give up Olam Haba, heaven. I can't understand them wanting to give up Olam Hazeh, this world. He was saying that heaven is an abstract idea. And doing mitzvahs in order to get, reward in heaven, it's a very abstract concept. And the Alshach makes that point. This is going to make a person, well, what's the point of doing this? I've got to wait for heaven. I don't know what that is. What the reward's down here? But there is a reward down here. And that's what the Briskerov said. I can understand I wanted to give up heaven, but I want to give up this world as well. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Tzaddik Livrocha, often used to get very angry when he heard Jewish parents use the Yiddish phrase, schwer zu sein Yid, schwer zu sein Yid. It's hard to be a Jew, it's hard to be a Jew. He used to say, do you know how many countless, tens of thousands of young Jews gave up Judaism because all day long they heard their parents saying, schwer zu sein Yid, it's hard to be a Jew. Well, they reached the rather logical conclusion, in that case I'm not going to be a Jew anymore, and gave it all up. The phrase should have contained, maybe a continuation. It's hard to be a Jew, but the alternative is simply not. The shot's not on the board. It's simply not conceivable. Because what we get by being Jews is schar mitzvah. The reward for mitzvah is an opportunity to do another mitzvah and to build more in your home, more Torah in your home, more Torah for you to enjoy, more Torah for you to teach, more Torah for your family to enjoy. It's that turns a Jew on. Oh, there is reward for mitzvahs in this world, and it's a certainty. V'hoy, it will be. Keep the mitzvahs, everything goes well. It's as good as it can possibly be in our world. And that beats the alternatives.